Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club. Ha! You thought we weren't coming back, didn't you? Well, we are back, for better or for worse. So all 5 of you that listen to this podcast, you're welcome. Where were we? Well, for one thing, this is a tough book. And also, I don't know, life happens. I'm not going to apologize for taking a break when we needed it. You should also take breaks when you need it. That's the beauty about life. Sometimes it gets really overwhelming and you just need to take a moment and take a breath and then you're back.
Sometimes things change too much. So you spend 3,500 years keeping the universe exactly the same.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this episode and I'm going to put it out sometime in March. And then we are going to do either 2 episodes in April or we're going to combine the last 2 Dune books, just kind of depending on how they go after I read them, and then we'll be caught up. And then we need to make a decision about what comes next. So if anybody has a vote, feel free to put it in the YouTube comments. What I will not read in the YouTube comments is anything criticizing my opinion of this book if you are not a feminine presenting person or someone with a uterus, because I have very specific feelings about Leto II, and I am going to be voicing them. Probably repeatedly.
And Herbert's representation of females.
Herbert's representation of women. I don't think this man ever met a woman he bothered to get to know. I don't even think he knew Beverly, if you want to know my opinion of it. And I love the people that are like, you can't tell about an author from what they write. And I'm like, if you can't tell about the author from what they write, they're not a good author.
They're not writing what they know.
They're not writing what they know. Every author has a voice. If you are a reader, I can tell you different authors have different voices, and sometimes they have different voices throughout their career. I think Dune has a far different voice from his later books. Dune has a different voice from Dune Messiah, which has a different voice from Children of Dune, which has a different voice from God Emperor.
And there was a lot of time between these books.
You could have told me 4 different people wrote these books, and I would believe you. I am increasingly convinced that he lucked into Chani.
Yeah.
I think he spent a shit ton of time writing Dune, researching Dune, creating Dune, and Dune ended up being this runaway success, and he had no fucking idea what to do with it. And he did not know where it was going to go next.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knew the first 3 books. I don't think he knew where he was going to be taking Leto, and it shows. I don't know how this was Beverly's favorite book. She's like, because it's a love story. What love story? Love story implies there's 2 characters that fall in love. There's not 2 characters. There's Leto II, and a bunch of cardboard cutouts. In fact, if you told me this entire book was literally just Leto II with a bunch of puppets and cardboard cutouts that he was voicing himself, I would believe you.
I was trying to just see exactly what years the books were published.
Oh, this one's 1981.
Right, and the last one was, when was Children of Dune?
Like 1976, 5 years previous. You know what I should not have done? I should not have read the foreword with Brian Herbert. I don't know what Brian was trying to convey in the foreword, but it didn't come out the way I think Brian wanted it to come out. Because he was like, yeah, my dad was kind of an asshole, which is not how he phrased it. But he said, I didn't really know him all that well when I was a child because he was always busy writing and I wasn't allowed to disturb him when he was writing. And I didn't get to know him until my mom was sick and we were taking care of her together.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually had the chance to talk to him. And then he goes on to be like, my dad really was the smartest person in every room. And my dad always had like the most coolest, most original ideas. And I was like, okay, hang on. there is being the smartest person in the room, which happens sometimes to people. Like you do meet the people that are like, wow, you're pretty fucking smart. Like it's really fun talking to you. And then you meet the guy that thinks he's the smartest person in every room. And I think that Frank might have been the guy who was like, every room is lucky to have me. Like he walked into every room with the energy of the asshole cat. Like that's what he walked into. And I think had he received and listened to and worked with literally any creative criticism on this book, it would have been improved. But I don't think you probably could tell him that he was going down the wrong track. And you were looking through a couple of synopsises before we started this. And I have looked at a couple. And the thing that I find most noteworthy is that almost every single interpretation is different. Almost every single, this is what the golden path is not the same thing. You read one that was like, oh, it's that they're going to create super
thinking machines
robots that
will
can kill people.
Humanity to extinction.
Okay. And another one was...
They never mentioned that in Children of Dune or God Emperor of Dune.
No. And another one was like, oh, it's because we are conditioned to default to tyranny. And so we have to experience the full breadth of tyranny and then we won't want to do it anymore. Okay. And another one was like, they're just all different. And to me, what that says is no one actually knows.
Right.
But the way
there's so many interpretations, then maybe the author wasn't clear.
Right. There should be some consensus. You can have a couple of different takeaways because like you can read Dune several times and have different takeaways. But there's a finite number of takeaways. There's no finite number of takeaways from God Emperor of Dune because the way it's written is like, if you're not getting this, it's because you're not smart enough. And so you end the book, if you're the type of person that likes to chat about books, terrified that you're going to be the one that didn't get it. And it just, to me, feels like, can we all just collectively agree that this is probably the weakest book of the series so far? It's a hot fucking mess. It is a hot mess. It makes more sense if you realize, or which I did after I read some information about it. He wrote the entire book first person from Leto's point of view and then went back and rewrote it as a third person omniscient.
Oh.
And that's where he gets the clips of his journal entries is from his original version.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And I think if he had left it first person, I would not have made it through this book.
Right.
Okay, you know what kills this book for me? Hands down, Duncan, Idaho. Duncan is the thing that makes this book so messy. I think if he had omitted Duncan entirely, you could have very coherently given me a narrative about what you think the Golden Path is and what he's done to humanity and what the effort of all of this creation of his ultimate empire is. You could have included Siona, go fucking figure, at any point except when she's, quote, being tested, which is just him living out his kink fantasies of people sleeping in his foreskin, to be honest. And then there's we could have actually had female characters, and instead we got Duncan, Idaho.
Controversial take.
Okay.
Having read books 5 and 6.
Okay.
I think Duncan is not necessary.
No.
There is a role that Duncan plays through books 5 and 6. Spoiler alert.
You just looked at me like, I'm sorry.
I've been working really hard.
I know Duncan sticks around. He's like the longest running joke.
But the role that Duncan plays could have been filled by another character. But it feels like Duncan was used to fill that role as a thread of continuity through all the books.
Okay. All right. I mean, okay.
And that makes sense, is to have, here's a character with the same name and has memories of all the books that you've read.
Yeah.
Even though it's thousands of years in the future, you have this one character that is the thread of continuity for the reader to place yourselves in the story. I don't know that it works better with Duncan versus not.
It does not. You know what?
Yeah.
Okay. Because Duncan's not the same character.
Right.
He just has the same name.
Right.
And Duncan is not even really in Dune. He's in the first act in Dune, and then he's gone. And then he doesn't come back until Dune Messiah.
When he's an incredibly different character.
And it cheapens that moment in Children of Dune when he says 2 deaths for the Atreides, and the second one for no better reason than the first.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great fucking moment.
Right.
Okay.
And it would have been great if that was it.
You know, it'd be really funny is every time he dies, he's like 747 deaths for the Atreides, and the 748th for no better reason than the first. I mean, we come back and we find out that he's been cloning Duncan repeatedly for thousands of years, but Duncan does not accumulate knowledge or experience or information. He's the same.
He's still the same Duncan from the first act of Dune.
Yeah. So he's been refreshing his playthrough for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, he's not even shocked by anything that Duncan does. He's like, oh, this is the mourning period that Duncan usually goes through. Okay, well, it'll take like 48 to 72 hours and then he'll be done.
Yeah, the other Duncans have all gone through it by this date, by this time period. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the pattern of behavior I have taken to calling the whatever. Well, then let the man rest. Jesus Christ. And he keeps breeding him into the Atreides line.
Right.
Even though we've established that humanity has moved on from the way that Duncan
Right. We very quickly
establish
in the book that Duncan is like physiologically inferior to most humans now.
And it doesn't make sense that the Tleilaxu have just been recloning this guy for thousands of years, and they had no long game about how to use Duncan against Leto.
Mm-hmm.
All you had to do was incrementally change his DNA over time so that he would poison the Atreides line.
Right.
And you're like, oh no, what if they saw or whatever? Okay, well they made a chamber, the null chamber, to make Hui, which he didn't even know about until he was like, oh, wait a minute. I think they made Hui in this null chamber or whatever. You could have made one Duncan, made another Duncan in the null chamber who is the poisoned DNA Duncan, and then just swippy swapped them.
Yeah.
It'd be fine. Leto's busy. He wouldn't notice. And I don't know. It's the whole point. Even if that wouldn't work, it doesn't matter, because the point here is I think Duncan ruins this book. Because I don't know at any point if I am supposed to see Duncan as a villain, a foil, a neutral narrator that allows me, the simple, stupid human.
I think he's supposed to be too many things.
And then later, I'm like, wait a minute, is he supposed to be the hero, or is he the villain, or is he the last honorable man? Because he keeps coming into these situations where he's like, this is morally wrong.
Right.
This is
there was a
morally
line about
wrong.
the last honorable man, but there was also like the greatest fool. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh my God. He ruins this book. He does. And I will say it's a really hard sell because Leto is almost as bad as he is. He's the character that this book is about. You know what got me? I'm not going to go into the specifics over and over again of every single character and how they really bothered me, because I could go on for hours about it. But this was the most male book I have ever read in my entire life. And when Dune comes out in the 60s, it's incredibly male. And you know what?
But that's kind of
I'm
course.
okay with it because it's the 60s. And of course it's super male. Science fiction is a super male genre at the time. But this came out in 1981. He's had time. The world has moved on from this hyper masculine perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't. So in a way, this book
has been 16 years since Dune was published.
Right. He has a child. He had a wife. I presume knew other women at literally any point in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, this is a thing. This one's hard to convey if you haven't grown up in a female perspective. But there is a type of man that the minute you meet them, you're like, oh, there's no point in me even talking because they're not going to hear me.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just let them run because there's literally nothing you can say that matters as much as what they want to say to you. They're never listening to you. They're only waiting for their turn to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And after reading this book, the impression I got about Frank Herbert is he is that guy. Because there are, 3 female characters? 4 female characters in this book that we meet at any point.
Mm-hmm.
There is Antioch. We meet the whole group of Bene Gesserit.
Yep.
But the one that stands out is Antioch. And he sends her off to the Tylaxu planet. Or Ix, one of them. He sends them off to technology planet. Either cloning technology or computer technology planet. And then later, they're like, oh yeah, she died.
Yep.
How did she die? Oh, bravely. For me. Because I deserve it. I don't know. I don't know how she died. There's literally... We could have switched to that point of view.
We have a number, like a decent number of female characters in the next 2 books.
Okay.
That are a little more complete characters.
I think he was blinded by his love of Leto II.
Mm-hmm.
I think he thought Leto II was...
The context that he wrote it as a like first person limited like journal entries.
Yeah.
Of Leto for the entire story and then modified it later. If he'd written it third person from the beginning, we probably would have had a lot more comprehensive characters.
Yeah. Well, because we have...
Rather than leaning so hard on Leto's perspective on everything.
Well, let me finish my breakdown of the female characters. And then we have Nayla, who is kind of our representative for the fish speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And I could write a TED Talk.
The most devout fish speaker.
About the fish speakers. But Nayla is... how to describe this? He chooses her as the representative for this large group of women that he has deliberately cultivated to be his military force.
A sycophantic military force.
And I have so many problems with the way that he portrays a group of women, like a group of women. Oh God, how can I phrase this? I know he's cultivated them specifically to be his like most devout followers.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason he does that is because he says, not because women are better soldiers, but because if you get a group of men together and make them soldiers and they don't have anyone to fight, they'll rape and pillage the people they're supposed to be protecting,
mm-hmm.
which, yeah, fair. It's true. But he does that. So he only uses women because women don't rape people, not because they're better.
Not because they're objectively better soldiers.
No. It's just because...
But because they have fewer problematic tendencies.
And you know what they do when they're bored and you make a group of sycophantic female followers? They try to have sex with everyone because at one point Minea was like, oh, they're always trying to tempt me into having sex with them. And Duncan can just have sex with anyone he wants to at any point,
mm-hmm.
which is never shown as being problematic in any way. It's part of his appeal. It's like, oh God, he's so good with the ladies. Oh my God. Also, Moneo like they're eating breakfast and the women woke him up and fed him breakfast. And he's
mm-hmm.
like, oh, they're always trying to tempt me. And Duncan's like, do they? And he's
Does
like,
it work?
He's like, sometimes. But when they're not doing that, they're having sex with each other, which Duncan finds out about. And we get one of the best scenes, she says sarcastically, where he's like, oh, this is immoral. This is terrible. We have to root this out. And Moneo was like, if someone's watching out for your ass on the battlefield, don't you want them to think your ass is cute? Like, come on, man. Anyway, Nayla at one point is watching Duncan Idaho, and Duncan Idaho does something so overtly masculine, she has an orgasm on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then
what does Frank think goes on in the minds of women?
Nothing. I think he thinks we think about sex with men. Okay. So the only culture for the majority of like white women is compliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Duncan is writing from an almost exclusively white perspective.
Right.
Because he's a white dude who grew up in the 60s. So he has no other perspective but his own, and he feels like he needs no other perspective. So one of the things that pops up a lot when a man writes a woman is that the woman always wants to align herself with power.
So that she's not being targeted by that power?
For protection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what he saw most of the female characters as is aligning themselves with the most powerful person around, who's
Mm-hmm.
Leto, so that they will receive protection. And Leto operates as a protector for every female character in this book.
Mm-hmm.
And they not only want it, they actively seek after it, and then they pay for it with like
sexual favors. Or at least sexual attention.
Yeah. That's the first thing that happens to Duncan when he arrives on the planet, is they take him off and they all have sex with him.
Yeah.
To, I assume, establish a connection, align themselves with power.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think as far as Frank is concerned, women's entire purpose is to find a caregiver and align themselves with it.
Yeah.
Even Siona.
Especially in a tyrannical patriarchy.
Yeah. Even Siona. Who Siona is supposed to be our combative rebel.
Our subversive
female. We open with the scene where they're running through the woods. And Brian, in his thing at the beginning, well, we'll go ahead and move on to Siona here because I'm going through the female characters. Brian, in his thing at the beginning, was like, the difference between this book and all the other books my dad writes about Dune is there's action. And I was like, oh, okay, action. All right. It won't just be people in rooms talking about shit. Great. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so we open with that scene where they're like running through the woods and the fat one in the back is like running real slow. And he's like, at least I die for a good cause. And that's Frank words, not my words. He literally says he's like sedentary and round or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're all like, for Siona. And everyone dies except Siona. So she can smuggle these journals. And you know what never comes up again? Any of that shit. We go to one other rebel conference, which is literally like there's tea and cookies and they're hanging out in a basement, like a church basement.
Right. And there's like 5 of them.
And they're like, welcome to the biannual meeting of the Rebel Alliance. We all kind of got eaten by wolves. And then at one point they mentioned that all the wolves are dead. They waged some kind of war of attrition and killed off all the wolves. But it's like mentioned in passing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we meet Siona. We don't even meet Siona. We meet Siona in that her name is mentioned tangentially. And then we see her one other time when she goes to her rebel conference, whatever, alliance. And then we meet her again when she's going to be tested. And that's literally the only interactions we get with Siona, except at the very end where she triumphs over adversity.
There's a couple scenes with Duncan, Siona, like Duncan and Siona traveling to Tuono.
Oh, don't.
Or preparing to travel to Tuono.
I'm going to go ahead and section off the last part of the book where it's Tuono and Hui and all of that, because I feel like that in itself is an entirely separate book. Because up until then, everything that Leto does is shown as being incredibly calculating. And then all of a sudden he's like, no, I'm going to get married over there. And they're all like, no, that's a really bad idea. And he's like, I do what I want. I do what I want. And that's the whole end of the book, basically, is I do what I want. Anyway, and yet Siona pops up as like Siona. She's so rebellious. Oh, Siona. She's real tough. Like, I don't know Siona. I don't know I don't know who the fuck she is. She doesn't get a scene from her point of view. I think the only female point of view that we ever get is the Bene Gesserit.
And Nayla.
Oh, and Nayla.
We kind of get a like semi first person view.
Yeah, where Nayla's like, I really like Leto, and Leto was really nice to me. And he said I could come and talk to him. And he said I could send him an email.
I need to do whatever Siona says, but what if Siona tells me to hurt him? He told me to do whatever Siona said. This is so challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not shown as a very intelligent character. Siona, loyal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a puppy. Yeah. You know. Anyway, but as soon as Siona is on her test, even though they told her to cover her mouth, she doesn't cover her mouth.
Because she's so rebellious.
Because she's such a rebel. She's just not a good listener. And and then she's like, I'm going to die, aren't I? And he's like, I mean, maybe unless you like crawl in my foreskin if you wanted, like you could do that. And she's like,
that'll keep you warm.
And he's like, we could cuddle with you inside my foreskin. And he's like, I'm sorry, I could not. In my mind, he looks like a dick, an uncircumcised penis. Mm-hmm. Like that's all I could think. And then when he's like, I pulled my hood back so she could lay in the hood, I was like, oh my God, I can't with this imagery. And then at one point she milks him because he has like sweet syrup. And he's like, just suck on that part. It's okay. I'll swallow it. So that's what's happening. But the minute she needs protection, she aligns herself with him.
Mm-hmm.
Only until she can kill him.
Right.
But she only kills him because at that point she has aligned herself with Duncan, who can then protect her. She never does it on her own. She only does it when she has male permission. And in the male permission she gets in the last part of the novel is Duncan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't at me with she's the one who told Duncan what to do.
Well, I think she could have Duncan wasn't really necessary.
No, but she
because it could have just been Siona and Nayla at the top of the cliff.
But I don't think Frank believed that a woman had enough agency to do it without a man being there. I literally think he thought that they needed Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah.
To have enough agency to kill Leto.
Did Frank see himself as Duncan, Idaho?
I think so. Yeah. That's why I think the messaging is super unclear.
The rugged, dangerous, individual, powerful man.
Yeah. A relic of a better, simpler time when a man could be a man. Yeah. I do. And I think his son, Brian, said he saw himself as Leto, but I don't think so. I think he saw Leto as like his philosophy. Yeah. His like embodiment.
Leto was an abstraction.
Yeah. Leto was an abstraction. I think he saw himself as the last honorable man. Mm-hmm. The last man who knew that men were men.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Maybe also the most foolish man.
I didn't know
the greatest fool.
Frank, obviously. Didn't know him personally. But if you had to ask me in a literary class, I would absolutely stand by that statement that I think he saw himself as like he'd gone from the 60s where he wrote this book that was incredibly male-centric and it was super well accepted. It took a while, but it was, the greatest sci-fi book of all time. And now he's writing these later books and he's probably getting criticism about the level of male characters and the lack of attention to all female characters. Mm-hmm. And instead of receiving it well, I think he did an insert character who could be like, yeah, because men are the ones who get shit done. Like Nayla can crush boulders with her hands.
Right.
She probably could have just spider climbed the wall. And yet Duncan is like, I can do it. And she's like, okay, yeah. And that's when she spontaneously orgasms because she's watching him climb the wall. And she's like,
so impressive.
Oh my God, it's so hot when men do stuff like that. Oh my God. I would never have thought of doing that on my own with my simple little female human brain. Mm-hmm. And then we meet Hui. Okay. Siona is a Mary Sue, and I stand by that. Her entire purpose is to show how manly and strong all of the men around her are. Mm-hmm. Hui is the ultimate manic pixie dream girl. She was literally created to be with Leto.
Right. Yes, she was engineered to be the most desirable woman.
For Leto.
For Leto.
Yeah. Trained to be for him. Born for him. Everything for him. If that's the love story Beverly was talking about, I don't know. And Leto's even like, oh, it's basically like they made an ambulatory sex doll for Leto who can't have sex.
Right.
And he's like, I know it. You know it. She knows it. But she's so hot. She's so sweet and innocent and perfect. And I loves her. And we're going to get married. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, wait, get married. You can't get married. And supposedly he created an empire that contained the seeds for its own destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, just like Paul, he has to undermine his own image in order to destroy it.
Yes.
And he's like, no, I'm going to go to Tuono. That's where I'm going to get married. And they're like, honestly, it's a terrible idea. It's not safe.
He picked Tuono because Moneo said, hey, just so you know, I sent Siona and Duncan to Tuono so that they wouldn't interfere with
your wedding.
And Leto's reaction is kind of like, well, damn it, I wanted them to. I'm expecting them to interfere. They're supposed to attempt to assassinate me, and I hope they're successful. That'd be really cool. I'd be done. Move the wedding to Tuono because I need, I've been arranging this, and now you're interfering. They were supposed to be there.
He did everything but just go ahead and give them guns. He was like, can we just go ahead and give them guns? And yet he's mad when Hui dies.
Duncan is or Leto is?
Leto is.
Well, I mean,
if he just kept his bubble shut, he'd have been fine. But instead he's like, oh no, and pushes her out of the bubble. Oh no, I opened the window.
He could have kept his shield up. And shields, cannon, are impenetrable.
Yeah.
So, well, and I guess water could have gotten through. If the shield was still active, the water would have slowly seeped through.
Yeah. But
I mean, there was a chance that if it's a spherical shield around the platform, then they would have landed in the river and maybe rolled up on some land or something.
Yeah. Well.
But I think he turns off the suspensors.
He turns and he opens his bubble hood.
And then he opens.
He has a physical aperture that opens and shuts.
Okay.
Like a don't, because he closes it and opaques it, and Hui's in there, like, I don't know, milking him or something. I don't know what she's doing. And so they open it. He opens it as soon as the bridge starts to fall.
Mm-hmm.
He could have just left it shut.
Right.
It's fine. It doesn't matter. We've asked this question in the previous podcasts, and I feel like it's
could
still
have gotten
relevant.
into his foreskin and been cushioned from the fall.
Exactly. She could have at least survived.
Mm-hmm.
But she was created for him. Would she have had a life without him?
Right. What would have been her purpose?
Nothing.
After Leto was gone?
No. None. She's not a person. She's a woman. Anyway, we've asked this question before, and I feel like it's still super relevant. Is Frank Herbert a good writer? And I think he lucked in my opinion. No, I think he's a good idea man.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he needed someone who could sit him down and be like, this book, Frank, it don't make no fucking sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to eliminate the Duncan character and create a separate character. If you need an audience stand-in to explain the world to, do that to Siona.
Right.
Do that to Hui. And then we at least get a character who gets shit explained to them.
Right. There's many examples of, this character was raised in an isolated location, away from the political happenings, whatever. And then they come of age and they're brought in and, now they have to learn all the stuff.
You could have pulled one of the museum Fremen out and had them never have experienced what life outside the museum siege before.
Yep.
And have them reconcile how evil Leto actually is, and then realize that Leto needs to die, and then orchestrate a plot to kill him. Mm-hmm. And it would have made so much more sense than Duncan falls in love with Hui. Leto falls in love with Hui. And then Duncan kills Leto because he said he wasn't in love with Hui anymore, but he was really in love with Hui. Yeah, because everybody loves Hui because she's basically a child. And yay. And I will not have any further comments about that because I've mentioned his weirdness with like Alia being 15 when Duncan marries her and Leto and Ghanima being so young. Why didn't he bring Ghanima back? He lets Ghanima.
Oh, like clone her.
Why make Faradin a character whose entire purpose is to keep Leto honest and then not bring him back? Wouldn't you have Hark al whatever? Harkaladal, who I totally forgot who that was, and they kept mentioning him, and I was like, who? I had to look it up.
That would have been interesting.
That would have been better, because it would have been continuity of a plot line that you started in Children of Dune.
And continuity of a character who's intended to challenge Leto.
Right.
And, keep him on track.
Instead of bringing back his himbo bro that he played swords with that one time. And they're like, oh, Duncan was like...
in universe justification, they might say, oh, well, Duncan's the only one that the Tleilaxu have actually successfully, reawakened as a Gola. And maybe they tried other people, but they couldn't figure out the formula, the ritual to reawaken them.
Yeah.
But Duncan, really easy to awaken as a Gola.
Do you need to reawaken Hark Aladar? Or can you just...
Hark Aladal.
Whatever. Or can you just rely on his...
I don't know if that was intentional mispronunciation or not.
No, I can't remember his name.
Okay.
Faradin. Why wouldn't you just... You could bring Faradin back, and then each time you would get his base personality. You could repeat the same training, and then you would get his perspective, his fresh perspective, unclouded by his memories of the past. Mm-hmm. That would be actually useful. He would have a check partner instead of whatever Duncan is. Unclear. Motivation's unclear, I think is what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. We have one moment from Duncan's perspective where he talks about how he got woken up, and he said that he was, forced to try to kill a guy who looked so close to Paul Muad'Dib. He might have actually been Paul Muad'Dib. And then that goes nowhere because I was like, oh, that would be really cool if they actually secretly had Paul's DNA and they had been cloning Paul also.
Right.
And what if that was also the moment of reawakening for Paul? The moment when Duncan doesn't kill him and wakes up instead. And then you could have this cool thing where Paul comes back and orchestrates the fall of his own son. I mean, that would have been cool. There's so much shit that could have happened besides, well, they made a really hot chick and Duncan fell in love with the hot chick, but Leto fell in love with the hot chick. And then Duncan fucked the hot chick and the hot chick got sad and Duncan got sad and Leto got sad and everybody died. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? Is this really how we're going to end this? And we haven't even talked about Melky. And Melky to me is the perfect example of how this is not a good book.
The shadow bad guy?
Because Melky is the bad guy. Oh, no. Oh, you know Melky. Oh, my. No, I don't know Melky, actually. I don't know who you're talking about. We just heard about him. They're like, oh, we banished him. Okay, did we banish him recently? Why couldn't we have had time with him before we banished him? Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, this is...
Why couldn't we have had a flashback?
This is clearly Melky. Is it? I don't know that. I don't know who the fuck Melky is. And even Hui's motivations are not her motivations. They're Melky's motivations.
This reminds me of your criticisms of one of the Doctor Who seasons. After
any written by Stephen Moffat.
Yeah. The Stephen Moffat Doctor Who, where it's like, oh no, these 10 crazy things are happening. What is going on? And then you get 80% into the episode and they're like, aha, I know what's happening. Here's a 11th secret thing that was going on. That's actually the real conflict that's happening. And you could not have deduced that from any of the evidence in the first 80% of the episode because he couldn't figure out how to write it cleverly.
Well, I saw a thread that was like, what do you mean a female character written by a man? And someone was like, okay, just watch any woman written by Stephen Moffat.
Mm.
And I felt that so deeply. This is exactly how he treated Amy Pond.
Mm-hmm.
Where I had no idea who Amy Pond was because she never got any actions that were her own. She acted because of the doctor or because of her husband, but never on her own. And yet both male characters would speak of her as if she was this very incredibly independent female character. Mm-hmm. But that's never
we never
shown.
Saw that, yeah.
Because there's never anything for her to do that does not relate back to a male character. And that's Hui. And at one point, Hui is like, well, I have decided that I'm going to hop the track from Melky is the one who gets to tell me what to do to you, Leto, get to tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm independent, because I get to choose my own male overlord. And then she's like, but maybe I want Leto with like a dash of Duncan. Because, like, I can have sex with Duncan, and I have needs. And, oh, my God.
Physical needs. Duncan can fulfill my physical needs.
I just had a really graphic flashback to that moment when she has sex with Duncan. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I wasn't your first partner. That's not a question. And she's like, no, you weren't. No. And he gets fucking pissed because she was not a virgin when he had sex with her. She was virginal, but she was not a virgin.
So she lied to him.
She didn't lie.
From his perspective.
Yeah. Right. Because she was
false advertising.
And then he asks her who her partner was. Because, of course, body count matters, right? Mm-hmm. And so he says, who is your partner? And she was like, I was really young. And he said he needed me. I'm going to do the thing where I take out I take out the silence because I have a macro that does that. But know that I stared at Matt for like a full 90 seconds of, to me, if nothing else showed me that Frank Herbert has no idea how to write a female character, that's it. Not only that, but Duncan is a man whore. Duncan has been fucking his way through this book. He fucked his way through the last book. I'm pretty sure he's going to fuck his way through every book moving forward. But sure, let's criticize Hui for having had a partner before Duncan.
I saw a really good line recently, and it was, so a woman having sex with a man makes her dirty.
Yeah.
And a man having sex with a man is dirty. So it's the man that's dirty.
Yeah. If something's dirty after you touch it, it's your hand, dumbass.
Right.
Yeah.
And if Hui is dirty after another man touched her and Duncan's mad that she's already dirty, then the problem is men.
Yeah. I mean, we all knew that.
Right.
The other, I have one more statement here. I know.
Right.
I know.
And that's...
I'm going to let you defend this book in 2 seconds, but give me a second. The other thing I think really undermines where he's going with the golden path, besides Leto's motivations unclear through this entire thing, is he supposed to be creating a stable, boring society that encourages people to want more?
Yeah.
It's the least stable shit I've ever seen in my life. There's like 5 assassination attempts that all result in him freaking out and murdering a bunch of people. At one point, he just wiggles around and crushes people for a while.
Right, and his fish speakers are all over the known universe, constantly putting down rebellions.
Yeah. So it is neither stable nor particularly boring.
It's just authoritarian.
Yeah. If Frank was serious and he wanted to unpack everything that humanity tended towards, the tendency towards religious tyranny over time, which is a thing that humanity does because...
fair point.
Fair point. Anytime we get really overwhelmed, we immediately leave logic behind and turn to religion.
Mm-hmm.
It's a known cognitive flaw. But if you really want to unpack that, what he needed to do, the way this book is perfection, is if Leto becomes an advisor to a 1,000-year reign of female leaders. Not the leader himself, but reprogramming humanity to see matriarchy.
Mm-hmm. If he wants to destroy the legacy of Pharaonic dynasty, of basically patriarchy and leaders holding like the mythological space of gods in a man's body, like God's representative on earth. Yes, you educate the populace about all the downsides of that style of society and government, but then you also put in place something that can build a system that actively opposes it.
Yeah.
So you educate them about the bad things, but then you also educate and build something that is protective against the bad thing.
Yeah.
But he only ever educates about the bad thing and doesn't teach about the good thing.
Yeah.
Or the better way. Maybe not the good way, but the better way.
Right. A different way.
Yeah.
You could have created 2 rival empires and effectively run both.
I think that kind of happens in Foundation.
Where you have like, this is the better way, the non-tyranny way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to nurture that and help it grow. And then eventually I'm going to assist it in defeating me.
Yeah.
So that they will have triumphed over evil. And then we never have to do the evil thing again. We can thoroughly punish the people who collaborated with the evil regime. And that's how we're going to create more of a utopia. And he could still have kept doing his thing. But he could have done it. I don't know. There's like a million ways that I feel like this would have gone better. Besides, I'm just going to be a real big asshole so no one wants to be me again. And then I'm going to die in the most dramatic way possible after telling everybody how lonely and sad and I'm hurting you, but this is hurting me more than it's hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
That was the entire book. He was the mansplain final boss. Like, that's what he felt like. All right, I'm going to let you talk now. I know you said you would be the one to defend the book, so sell me God Emperor of Dune. Matt looks up to the sky for divine inspiration.
All right, so there's the idea that he's preparing humanity for long-term success.
Okay.
Where long-term is millions of years of humanity, not just like tens of thousands of years. And so one thing is humanity needs to spread out. And so he's keeping everybody bottled up and bored to build up this tension, this drive to go out and explore. And he does that by terraforming Arrakis, killing all of the sandworms off.
Mm-hmm.
The only source left is the only source of spice now is his stockpile and the sand trout that make up his body that will eventually re-terraform Arrakis back into the desert planet where the sandworms are around again, producing spice again. And so he's been hoarding all the spice, limiting everybody's spice, limiting interstellar travel so that humanity will, like, when the spice is reintroduced, humanity will go pew, and explode out.
Or whatever.
They call it the scattering.
Yeah.
In the later books. But then also I think the core theme that Frank was going for was this cool idea. Like, okay, prescience is dangerous, like extinction level dangerous, because it
removes free will.
It consolidates so much power to control, power to dominate into a single person and you can't be sure what that person's intentions will be. So, like, Paul and Leto were the first people to have that full, like, prescience, power, like, strong prescience. And Paul, the whole time, saw, oh, shit. All this stuff that the Bene Gesserit have been preparing, like, all this groundwork that the Bene Gesserit have laid for thousands of years, ultimately results in galactic jihad. It's going to be really bad. I'm going to spend the rest of my life, 15 years, mitigating the fallout from that. And as bad as it was, it could have been worse by the time we get to end of Messiah.
Okay.
And then we have Leto II, who also has strong prescience. I wonder if Ganima ever went through the spice trance and had.
Oh no! Remember, women are too weak to contain.
Right,
all
Alia
that.
could never do it.
No,
she kept trying,
mm-hmm.
and she had the same genetic potential as
mm-hmm.
Paul,
and it ended up killing her.
And then Leto is like, okay, I can see all the bad things that are going to happen. Again, I'm focused on the long-term solution, except even more long-term than Paul was. And so, like, two somewhat good-intentioned people had strong prescience, and they act to preserve humanity. But what if we got somebody with strong prescience that was just all in on short-term consolidation of power for them?
What would that be
and
like?
The rest of humanity be damned. I mean, we can see what happens in just regular humans.
Yeah, what if you get a really narcissistic leader?
Right. What if you get a psychopath with strong prescience?
Some of you may die, but that's a risk I'm willing to take.
That happens in war.
Mm-hmm.
And Leto's like, okay, I'm going to undertake this multi-thousand-year ordeal. Like, this is how Frank pitches it. I am sacrificing.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Right. I don't think this is a plausible subjective interpretation.
If I had to hear one more time about how sad Leto is, I was going to punch something.
So Leto undergoes this multi-millennia ordeal to craft humanity into something that can survive long-term by neutering prescience,
mm-hmm.
by developing, sculpting a kind of human that is invisible to prescience, and not even just invisible, but like an anti-prescience field around them. And even if you only get like 5% of the population that has this anti-prescience field, you've exponentially undermined the power of a psychopath with strong prescience.
Yeah.
Because enough of humanity is invisible to them that they can't actually predict what's going to happen. And then the idea is this anti-prescience person has lots of children
mm-hmm.
that proliferate through the universe. And now there's large swaths of humanity that can never be dominated by a psychopath with strong prescience, a PSP.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the underlying theme of the 6 Dune books is, and I was reading a blog post, I don't know, a while back, about the idea that Frank Herbert wrote Dune as a response to Foundation, where the Foundation series has psychohistory, where you can, like, effectively prescience, but prescience as like an engineered science thing. And through that whole series, they effectively control humanity to produce a good outcome. And that's the good story. Right? That's the heroes saving the day.
Yeah.
And Frank was like, like appropriately, I think Frank saw that and was like, that's not how it would work. So many things can go wrong with that, but we're only focusing on the positive aspects of somebody has this ability to predict the course of human civilization. That would be so fraught with problems and like egotistical control. It wouldn't work as smoothly as it works in Foundation. It's not that simple.
Right.
And so that's what the Atreides with prescience were supposed to represent is this is what actually happens if you give someone strong future sight and the ability to like act on that strong future sight. Is it doesn't work out the way you want it to work out.
It doesn't necessarily work out the way you want it to. Yeah. It depends greatly on the person with the power.
Right. And so
you need to remove the human element from it entirely.
Right.
By taking it away.
And then the 6 Dune books are the story of, okay, what do you do to protect humanity from this strong future sight, strong prescience?
Yeah.
And Leto II is kind of the long-term solution of like, okay, here's what you do is you have to have someone acting in good faith for the benefit, ostensibly for the benefit of humanity, using their abilities to modify humanity or build a structure that is then protected against another person using strong prescience to dominate humanity. And it's sprinkled through there. Mm-hmm. We get a couple monologues from Leto kind of explaining that in bits and pieces, but not like the rest of a good story.
This is why I'm saying he was a good idea man.
Yeah.
But execution, Mm-hmm. He needed an editor that knew how to tell him to shut the fuck up and listen to what I'm saying. This book isn't working. Here's what you need to change.
Yeah. And I think the theme of engineering a person or a group of people with good intentions, one, and the ability or the immunity to protect against bad actors with similar capacities, similar capabilities. So Siona is the triumph of his breeding program.
Yeah.
In that
you can't see her.
Later, if you have a person, a group of people, or technology that can make use of strong prescience, humanity is protected against them. And in later books, you end up with people who have engineered capabilities that protect them from other people with like novel technologies or like psychic control techniques or whatever. So I think that's kind of the underlying theme of the book series.
Yeah, prescience bad. Make prescience go away.
Or it takes a good person that can imagine or that can.
Is Leto a good person? Was he the person to have this? Well, I guess by the beginning of this book, he is every person. I'm everyone. He's everyone who's ever existed.
Ever. In his ancestral line,
And I think this book gets a lot better if you imagine that every time he's speaking with the voice of somebody else, He actually has puppets.
On his head.
He pulls out another puppet. What is he doing? He's speaking with the voice of his ancestors. Okay.
He's consulting with the oracle.
It kind of looks like he's just using puppets. Don't.
The puppets help.
Yeah. Plot twist. Everyone's actually a puppet. He puts a puppet on a bunch of sand trout.
I think because of the way that Frank designed the way prescience works with the spice, this was probably the only long-term confident solution to protect humanity against it, is to breed a human that is anti-prescient.
Yeah.
And you would need consistent oversight for thousands of years to conduct this breeding program, which
he is more than happy to provide.
Previously, that was done by the Bene Gesserit with the Reverend Mothers, who had all their Reverend Mother line of memories. Yeah. And so you had a continuity. You had a council that was running this breeding program, but it was slow and it was...
Well, they were breeding for prescience.
Right. And so now he's trying to do the opposite. But the Bene Gesserit breeding program was all in secret, all behind the scenes. Instead of just saying, you two people.
No,
fuck.
No, kid.
They had to control society to arrange all of these relationships without anybody knowing that a breeding program was going on. And so it takes longer and it produces unpredictable results sometimes. What's the guy? Fenrig. Fenring, yeah. Count Fenring.
You just had to do the voice. And I was like, oh, yeah, that asshole. Okay. Yeah, no, I got it.
Whereas Leto can have, I'm running a breeding program. Okay, you're part of this breeding program.
Yeah, I'm going to, you know what we're going to do? Oh my gosh, guys, there's only one room at the inn and there's only one bed. Oh, right? No. What if nature takes its course?
Leto doesn't really have to do that. He can just straight up tell people, you two, make a baby. Yeah. You don't have to love each other. You don't have to stay together forever. I just need your two genetic lines crossed.
We hint that Moneo had a love and that he wasn't allowed to be with his love because he needed to be with somebody different. And we tangentially hit that and then you're off and never talk about it again.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. Come back.
That would have been so much character depth for Moneo.
You almost made a character, Frank. And then you were like, oh, never mind.
But he was so focused on the Leto, societal genetic engineering plot that we only touched characters. We didn't get into the characters.
Yeah, that's why I said it's Leto II surrounded by a bunch of cardboard cutouts. That's what that he just voices.
Yeah.
And that's what this entire book is. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything positive I have to say about it. It ended. It began and it ended. I think what happened, I get where you're saying. Thank you for the breakdown of where you feel the golden path is going.
And there's also the consistent theme of free will as, or I guess prescience, strong prescience as antithetical to the existence of free will.
Right.
And Leto is trying to engineer a universe of humanity, of the open future.
Yeah.
Where we actually he acknowledges, oh yeah, if someone has prescience, nobody has free will.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to engineer a humanity that actually has free will.
Right. Which is good. No, that's if he could have gotten that through, we would have been in business. That's what I'm saying. He's an idea man.
I just finished the Licanius trilogy, and it tackles this whole theme of, if people can see the future, nobody has free will. What do we do about that? But there's actually like deep characters with lots of good stories, and they end up resolving it by removing, the future sight stuff, and you end up with a future of humanity with free will.
Well, I'm gonna take a step. I'm gonna go macro for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna talk about the publication of the book, and not the book itself.
Okay.
And as a way of explaining why I think we got here with Frank.
Okay.
Because we start out so good in Dune.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a reason everyone adapts Dune, and then they're like, and then he wrote some other books we think, but we're gonna kind of pretend he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happened is he wrote Dune. It took him a real fucking long time.
Right.
It's a really long book, exponentially longer than the following books, except maybe Chapter House. Anyway, it's a long book. It was entirely unprecedented, this long form style of science fiction book. He pushes the genre forward in the book. So he's really pushing the envelope, right? He could not find a publisher. So he ends up publishing it with the same people that publish car mechanic manuals.
Right.
Right? The people that tell you the part numbers for your truck don't have the editors that can sit down with him and go, hey.
Oh, yeah. He didn't have an editor.
Hey, let's clear
Is he
this
still
up.
using that same company to publish the rest?
No, he's moved on.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is he had so much creative freedom with the first book.
Mm-hmm.
He lucked into creating something entirely new. And he's been riding that wave since 1960, whenever he published the first book. So I think when he writes the next book, it's the same thing. He's got so much creative freedom because everyone's like, oh, you did such a good job. Yeah, man, go off. We're going to let you cook. And then he writes Dune Messiah, which is so much different than the first book.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third book, they were like, okay, we're going to really hope you were going somewhere. And I think this is a natural progression of him not having the oversight from the first book. And so no one's telling him how to tell a good story. No one is cutting the loose ends from the prior books so that he doesn't have to go back and try to figure out. So he's having to retroactively apply meaning to books that didn't have the meaning when he wrote them and now do.
Mm-hmm.
We know he wrote the first 3 books all together. It shows.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, I got to keep going, because when he was talking about writing the Dune Tarot into the second book so that he would have a merchandising opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it really shows you that he knew he had a thing and he wanted to keep it going. He had no idea how to keep it going.
Right.
And so he was like, this prescience thing seems like a problem. If he's writing it in reaction to Foundation, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. And I checked the Foundation. First 3 Foundation books were written in 1951, 2, 3.
Oh, and it's like Isaac Asimov, isn't it? Yeah. So, of course, he's read it. They're all talking to each other.
Right.
All of these male science fiction writers, anywhere from the golden age of science fiction, 1950 to really 60s and 70s, they're all talking to each other. They're all reacting to each other. That's why he knew Bob Heinlein.
Yeah.
Right. So when you get to, I think it's 1981 and he's still having a conversation that everyone else is already done talking about.
Yeah.
And I think he's got smartest man in the room syndrome, because he reinvented sci-fi in the 60s. Right?
Right.
There's a terrible vampire movie called Eat Locals. It's terrible. It's fun, but it's terrible. It's got Charlie Cox in it, and it's got it feels like one of those movies where an actor called all their friends and they're like, hey, you got a free afternoon? I got an Airbnb. Let's do this.
Yeah.
And then they just made a movie. But there's a part where one of the characters is like, I rode with Charlemagne and I took over, I helped defeat all these countries and build an empire or whatever. And the guy's like, yeah, but what have you done lately?
Yeah.
And it kind of
You've just been riding that high.
You've just been chasing that high. And that's exactly what it feels like. And My main criticism with this book is I feel like he's trying to extend the philosophy he started in the 60s into then what he feels is like the next predictable step. And in a way, it kind of is. Like, I can see where he's going. I'll give him that. I get the trajectory he was hoping to have achieved.
Right.
But he, one, includes Duncan. And I think he includes Duncan, in my opinion, so that he can insert some contemporary criticism into a book that he started so long ago. He's locked into almost an anachronistic philosophy style. Yeah. And it shows up a couple of times, and every time it does, it's terrible and it ruins the book. And it's primarily that Duncan comes off as like a homophobic, misogynistic asswipe.
Yeah.
And then he'll leave that whole commentary behind and he'll go back to being the last honorable man. And then he'll be like, but those women were having sex with each other and that's wrong and we need to stop them. But I'm going to move on to the part where I go through where I've marked in the books.
Okay.
So that we can talk about specific things. And I say all that to lead up to this discussion that he's having with Moneo. And it's like the morning after he's come to the planet. And he's realized that the entire army is women. And he's talking to Moneo about it. And he's like, I know the argument, but he says that the male army was a survival of the screening function delegated to the non-breeding males in the prehistoric pack. He says it was a curiously consistent fact that it was always the older males who sent the younger males into battle.
Yeah.
And then Duncan is like, what do you mean screening function? And he says the ones who were always out on the dangerous perimeter protecting the core of breeding males, females, and the young, the ones who encountered the predators.
Yeah.
And he's like, those are the type of men that join the military.
Yes.
Not the breeding males, but the like hyper protective, hyper violent types of males, I guess. The ones that get pushed to the fringes, they're the ones who act as the protectors, the military force.
Yeah.
And he goes, when they're denied an external enemy, the all-male army always turns against its own population. And he's like, oh, contending for the females? And he's like, oh, maybe. He obviously does not believe, however, that it is that simple. And he goes, well, there's more. And he's like, oh, yes. He says that the all-male army has a strong tendency towards homosexual activities. And then he goes on to be like, yeah, they'll fuck each other. And they'll do that until that gets to be not enough. And then they start raping people. And this is the part that I'm like, I want somebody to break down what he means by this. He says the homosexual, latent or otherwise, who maintains that condition for reasons which could be called purely psychological, tends to indulge in pain-causing behavior, seeking it for himself and inflicting it upon others.
So homosexuality turns into sadism?
Yeah, if you are a homosexual, it will come out as violence against yourself and others?
Maybe only if you are repressing that.
Well, if you
yourself.
maintain that only psychologically. So like I think it's like if you engage in homosexual behavior, but then you don't, if you are a homosexual, but then you don't continue to practice homosexuality, that will come out as sadism. And I was like, are you a raging homophobe, Frank? Because it kind of feels like
But then he has his all-female army that engages in homosexual activities.
But then we get the commentary from Duncan about it, and that's when it gets murky. Is anytime he involves Duncan in the discussion, you're like, what are you trying to say? Because that's the part, like Moneo in that whole thing is like, yeah, that's why they're females, because men will get bored. They'll fuck each other until that's boring, and then they'll go out and rape people. But they're also still kind of they still want to kiss the homies goodnight, and when they can't do that anymore, they just hurt people. What? I don't know what you mean by that. And then he comes back to it later because Duncan is walking down the corridor and he like looks in and he sees some women making out. And he's not like, oh, that's kind of hot. He's like, no, oh my God, gross. And he goes to Moneo and he's like, we got to get him. We got to drag them out and kill them. We got to stamp out this behavior immediately. And Moneo's like, come on, they're just hanging out. Like they're just relaxing.
They're just kissing the homies goodnight.
They're just kissing the homies goodnight. And he's like, no, we can't do that. It's immoral. He literally is like, it's immoral and it's gross and it's wrong and we shouldn't allow it. And Moneo was like, I kind of think we're just going to let it happen. I think it's going to let it happen.
They're not hurting anybody.
And it's not clear. It's not clear who he thinks it should be the winning argument in it at all.
Right.
It's so poorly written. I don't know. Who am I supposed to, who do you think? I know who I am rooting for.
Mm-hmm.
But who do you think I'm supposed to be rooting for in this discussion?
Who do I think Moneo is supposed to... What position does Moneo support?
I know what Moneo supports.
Right.
And I know what Duncan supports. But who do you want me to see?
As the reader, what is Frank saying should be supported?
Right. Who am I supposed to be rooting for?
Maybe he didn't want to endorse anything too firmly one way or the other.
Then don't bring it up.
Right.
Then don't just mention it and then don't bring it up.
Yeah.
But it comes off as like, this is unnatural. And it feels like...
It's such a core part of his argument against an all-male army. It's like he needed to figure out, okay, how could I justify having an all-female army? Because I gotta have them ladies sycophantically seeking the adoration and approval of the male, the patriarchal head of the society.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Okay, well, an all-male army is bad because man sex. Okay, good. I think I got a convincing line of argument there.
That's literally the only note on his note card.
I got
man
the ladies.
Sex.
All right, I got the ladies. All right, the ladies are doing woman sex. Well, that's fine. I got the ladies.
It's fine because they also want man sex. They also want to have sex with men. A lot.
Bisexuals are okay.
And they don't just want to have sex with men. They want their babies. That's the whole point of every time they seduce Duncan is they're trying to be impregnated by Duncan. And they're not trying to be impregnated by Duncan because they want babies. It's because they know that it makes Leto happy to see the children of Duncan.
Which is more seeking the
And then later, Siona
approval.
takes Duncan to his prior Duncan's family and he meets one of his kids. And it's this significant moment where they're like, you're my dad. And then later you're like, literally, he could be the father of any number of people because he has sex with a bunch of fish speakers the night he arrives. And then he's like, wait a minute, did I impregnate them? And Moneo's like, I mean, maybe. They don't use any protection. And he's like, what? No!
They like making Duncan babies because Duncan babies make Leto happy.
And he's like, I wasn't warned. What did you think you were just... Did you ask? Did they hand you a condom at any point? What did you just think they were not? God, it's fine. Bringing that up, my next note was I am binding the fish speakers to the command of my guard, and I have to fight them off. The escort that took me to the Citadel wanted to stop for an orgy, and the ones who brought me back here with you when you know how they know how much it pleases me to see the children of Duncan, Idaho. And he's like, damn you, I'm not your stud. Okay, but then stop engaging in stud behavior. If you're not going to be a stud, maybe stop fucking everybody. This is why, you know what, this book is, here's what I want. When the intellectual property rights on this book run out, right? And we're free to do whatever we want to it soon. I want somebody to rewrite this book without Duncan in it. Because I think he's a joke. He's a running joke in the fandom as far as I can tell, because most people will make a crack about Duncan. Right.
You could replace Duncan with, like you suggested, a museum Fremen who's been raised in Fremen culture, Fremen history, only living in the Sietch and the desert, and uninformed about like the larger galactic, like Atreides dynasty stuff. And then, okay, it's time for a new like advisor.
Yeah.
Like, it helps me touch grass to have somebody around who has been steeped in all of the Fremen societal values and rituals and traditions to just like give me a reality check. And so you could have the Duncan character replaced with, oh, it's time for a new reality check Fremen to come in, and okay, now I need to educate you about, okay, I'm Leto, like I was a Fremen, I'm still kind of a Fremen, but I'm not really human anymore. You're here to, to keep us in line, to keep us closer to the baseline that I'm going for. And then you can still have everything else that Duncan does, except you just don't deal with.
You don't get the Duncan baggage.
Yeah, you don't get the Duncan baggage.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave the question of whether or not this is intended to be seen as an anti-homosexual narrative or a pro-homosexual narrative or a neutral homosexual narrative. All unclear.
Yeah.
The way it reads to a modern reader is homophobia.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say because it's 40 years ago. Is that what he was intending to say? I don't know, because I don't know what he thought the language he was using meant, because the words that we use have moved on so far from the way he used them when he wrote this book.
Yeah.
But going back to the way that I think Frank had no idea what makes a woman tick. And honestly, I'm looking at you, Beverly. That's on you. You needed to be like, I'm actually a person. You know that, right? My needs are not a clean kitchen. My needs are not the laundry done. My needs are not grocery shopping.
Right.
I actually am a person outside of all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's like, do you wish that I had never occurred? Because this is a part where he's talking about, sometimes I think the spice is the Atreides curse. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, Melange has its values, Moneo. The guild navigators need it. And without it, the Bene Gesserit would degenerate into a helpless band of whining females. If I didn't give them the spice, they couldn't string two words together. They'd just be over there going, oh, I need a man. Where's my man? Who will tell me what to do? And then Moneo's like, oh, yeah, fair. Totally true. Uh-huh. And he's like, we're offered many choices, Lord. Only where the spice is concerned, is what Leto says. And Moneo's brow wrinkled and thought, no. He goes, you seldom say no in my presence, Leto said. I enjoy watching your lips form around the word. The O part especially. Speaking of man sex. Moneo's mouth twitched in an attempted smile. Leto spoke briskly. Well, you must go now to the lady. Hui. I will give you one parting piece of advice which may help. Are you ready for this advice? Moneo paid studious attention to Leto's face. Drug knowledge originated mostly with males because they tend to be more venturesome, an outgrowth of male aggression. You've read your Orange Catholic Bible, thus you know the story of Eve and the apple. Here's an interesting fact about that story. Eve was not the first to pluck and sample the apple. Adam was first, and he learned by this to put the blame on Eve. My story tells you something about how our societies find a structural necessity for subgroups. Break that down for me.
So I've heard that idea, like modern people talk about it, and for Frank to have written that in 1981, that maybe the whole Adam and Eve thing, Adam was just blaming Eve instead of Eve tempting Adam.
Yeah. We just watched the Barbie
movie. And tricking
movie.
him into doing it.
We just rewatched it. It reminds me of the part when America Ferrera is like, you have to take responsibility for everything and never, ever forget that everything is your fault.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what it feels like.
And I think that narrative feels like, I think it throws some weight around. Like it's plausible. As an alternative to what the modern Christian doctrine is on
that women are the reason for the fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the end part where he's like, this tells you about society's necessity for subgroups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to have us versus them.
Yeah. So that someone can take the blame and it's not you.
Right. And that's just a shame thing. Like you don't need shame to keep society in line. It's like if the like modern Christian position on like a woman should be subservient to a man, right, is the natural order of things, they wouldn't have to work so hard to indoctrinate everybody into it and enforce it top down. You don't have to
legislate things that happen naturally.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that's a good example of that. Like they wouldn't be working so hard to keep you down if you were as powerless as they say.
It kind of feels like if Frank had made it to the social media era, he'd be the guy that's not allowed to have his own social media profiles. Because he would post shit like that and you'd be like, what do you mean? And he'd be like, either you get it or you don't. I shouldn't have to explain it to you.
Or could he have been, I think he would have benefited from the shift on social media that makes it, I think social media does make it a lot more accessible to be challenged.
Yeah, but I don't think you could challenge Frank. I think that's the problem.
Like, did people try to challenge him and he just ignored them and went off and did his own thing? Or
we don't know.
Was he surrounded by yes men?
Either way. Either he could have intentionally surrounded himself by yes men. Yeah. Because the minute you criticized him, then you were
I've been
gone.
reading stuff about AI psychosis and I try to keep up with all of the AI developer tooling for coding and stuff like project management and whatever. And the studies are coming out saying, like people who use it have like on average 17% drop in skill mastery if they're using LLM agent tooling.
Yeah.
But then you have all the people who use it just as a chatbot or like for personal advice. They just end up offloading a whole lot of thinking to it. And so you get, what are they calling it? Like cognitive drain or something like that.
Yeah.
But then the LLM chatbots are designed to be sycophantic. And so you only get like positive affirmations as responses from the chatbots. And so there's this whole like epidemic of AI psychosis.
Yeah.
Because you have everything that you say is being affirmed. And I just read one thing about they made an LLM chatbot that was trained to be rude.
Yeah.
And to challenge the user. And its ability to, like, all of its benchmarks jumped up. But the user experiences more friction. But, like, a productive dialogue with somebody is full of friction. You should have somebody challenging you when you say stupid things. And so then one of the follow-ups on that was, okay, you have this sycophantic LLM chatbot that's only positively reinforcing everything you say, which just shoots you off on this spiral of, grandiose personality disorder stuff.
It can literally hijack people
Okay, what about people who just have themselves surrounded by yes men, like
it's
CEOs?
The same thing.
Well, you get a bunch of money, you get surrounded by yes men. A lot of people who get rich go crazy.
Lose their fucking minds. Yeah.
And people who get in positions of power get surrounded by sycophants. They go crazy because they're only being like positively responded to on everything they say.
Yeah.
And
to wrap it back around, like Leto is constantly portraying himself as the victim.
mm-hmm.
Frank is portraying Leto as the victim.
Right.
He is always shown as having given everything up.
Right.
So that he can live for 3,000 years as the ruler of the world? Okay.
So that he can save humanity. Duh.
I know, but he's like,
right.
I'm going to die 4 times. I'm going to die personally. I'm going to die emotionally. I'm going to die symbolically. And you should feel really, really bad for me because I gave everything up. And everyone's like, oh no, the sacrifice. He made such a great sacrifice for us. Oh no. And I'm like, he is not even remotely a sympathetic character. I want him to die from the moment he opens his mouth. I do not care that he dies at all. So in the end,
I do appreciate that there is an attempt by Leto to surround himself with people who will challenge him. And he likes it when Moneo stands up to him. He's like, oh, thank God, you didn't give up yet.
Yeah. I'm not going to listen to you, but thank you for talking about it. Yeah. Well, and then we get to the death scene where he's dying, and it reminded me of Paul Rubens from Buffy, where he's like, he just doesn't die. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm dying, but first let me pontificate for the next 2 chapters. I was like, I'm going to die. Oh my God. I'm looking through my thing. I get what you're saying is I do think this is the product of too much yes.
Mm-hmm.
Of nobody going, Frank, I don't get what you're saying there. And it may be that the next 2 books are stronger because he put this one out and it got mixed reviews. It was a big seller,
mm-hmm.
but that doesn't mean everybody liked it. It just means they've been waiting, and he put out the next book in the series because Children of Dune kind of ends on a cliffhanger. So he puts out the next book in the series and everybody gets it, and then they're like,
right,
what?
It's been 5 years.
What?
He puts out book 4. And up through book 3, everybody's like, oh man, this is so good. I can't wait for the next book. And then book 4 comes out. So everybody buys it.
And the contemporary criticism was that he was cashing in on the success of Dune.
Yeah.
That he had been riding on the success of Dune and he wasn't trying anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's fair. And he may have seen that criticism and been like, oh no, to maintain superiority, I might need to actually change this up a little bit. I'm interested in reading 5 and 6, not to keep dragging this out, but I'm interested in reading 5 and 6 because I want to know if it gets better.
Parts of it do.
If there's a payoff, or you know what this reminds me of? Deeply, like on a real. I think this is exactly what happened to him. Mm-hmm. Is Orson Scott Card's Ender's Game, where he wrote Ender's Game.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved Ender's Game. I know it gets some contemporary criticism, but whatever. It's a product of its time. It was written. It's done. It's fine. I liked Ender's Game a lot. I liked Speaker of the Dead. It was okay. I don't know why he feels the need to be like, oh, okay, these aliens are called the Formics, and they have a name, but they look like bugs, so I'm going to call them buggers.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this race, they have a name. They have a name that they call themselves, but they look like pigs, so I'm going to call them piggies or piglies or whatever they call them. Okay, that's a little problematic, but whatever. The Speaker for the Dead was fine. I like Speaker for the Dead. I felt like it was a good wrap up of Ender's storyline. Mm-hmm. And then Xenosaga is unreadable. Unreadable. I didn't even make it through the first 3 chapters. I was like, I will die if I try to finish this book. And then I turned it off. Yeah. And I never even tried to revisit it ever again. And he not only went on to write more books in that series, he wrote the whole Bean goes back to Earth and becomes the advisor for Ender's brother, who becomes the ruler of Earth.
Right.
And I think that's a perfect example of somebody that was surrounded by too many. The first one was too successful and he didn't know why.
Right.
And so he was trying to keep going and he didn't know what was making it work.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. That happens a lot. I mean, that happened with, I think, the Star Wars trilogy. I don't think George Lucas knew why the Star Wars trilogy was good. And so when he went back and wrote the episodes 1, 2, and 3, they just don't hit the same. I mean, they're better than the criticism that they got contemporarily, but they're not as good because he didn't know why the first 3 were good.
Right. Yeah.
It's fine. It's just, I think we can just let it rest at this was not it. Maybe if I was reading this at a time when it didn't feel like, I really don't want to have any sympathy for a super powerful, super selfish, grandiose male character who only wants to talk about how hard it is for him to have everything and to be in control of everything. And I should really pity him because it's really hard to be the ruler of the world and to know better than everybody else and to have to try to get everybody to do what they're supposed to be doing because you know best and they're not listening to you.
Ooh, what do you think about the idea of Leto is sharing his body with the worm?
Yeah.
Which he cannot control.
Yeah.
Is the worm his shadow of, like, desire to destroy?
Yeah.
That he hasn't appropriately incorporated?
I mean, I think, yeah. Sure.
And,
I mean, I think that would be a good way to look at it.
And this is a good time for him to, like, die.
Mm-hmm.
Go through his next change, because based on how Moneo deals with it, this has been increasing in frequency. Episodes of the worm coming out are increasing in frequency, and to let it continue would mean undermining Leto's golden path in a way that it doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, I think you could say that. I think you could say any number of things about this book because so much of it is so nebulous.
Right.
Because we know he doesn't actually look for his own death and that he can't see Siona. So there's a very...
He can't see Siona, and he only occasionally, uses his prescience to look into the future.
And never for his own death.
Right.
Never.
Because he wants to be surprised.
Right. So we don't have any reasonable reason to believe that he even knew he was going to die right now.
I think he knew there was an opportunity, and that's why...
Then why bring Hui?
He knew there was an opportunity because he likes Hui being around. And
since she's a woman is only ever an extension of the male.
Right. Her only value is her attachment to him.
Yeah.
So
even Alia.
if she left him behind, then he's just... she's just a pretty vase on the shelf.
Yeah, even Alia ends up aligning herself with the Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah.
And she chooses the wrong man to align herself.
After she aligns herself with Duncan.
Mm-hmm. After Paul left her.
Mm-hmm.
And even Lady Jessica. Jessica has her Duke, the Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Duke goes, Gurney is her protector. She's probably the only female character that doesn't directly have a male overlord.
Right. I think
until she gets forgotten.
Gurney aligns himself with Jessica.
Yeah.
I think Jessica is one of the few female characters that is portrayed as having agency.
That's probably why she's evil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Chani.
I guess
was her.
Even Jessica's agency is not really her, because it's hinted that she went to Dune to do all the stuff in Children of Dune because the Bene Gesserit told her to.
Right. And
so she's only following orders.
The only independent females with agency are the Bene Gesserit, who are the witches, the manipulative,
manipulators.
the conniving manipulative females who ultimately destroy the world.
Who withhold reproductive control.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And who ultimately are the bad guys because they create the situation that Leto has to undo.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then even Chani is originally Liette's daughter. And then when Liette dies, she immediately aligns herself with Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. I This is the type of literature that women had to settle for a really long time, where the female characters are cardboard cutouts. Most of the characters, to be fair, are cardboard cutouts, male or female.
Mm-hmm.
But the females in particular could have been replaced by...
Are they man extenders?
Yeah. They're man extenders, like horses. They're just male extenders. And you can understand then why the reaction to this being the dominant way that women are portrayed is the current romantasy market, where women are the central characters and men are the cardboard cutouts.
Right. It's a gender swap, not a paradigm shift.
And well, I think both have the same problems,
mm-hmm.
effectively. One is one we're going to explore because it's the books we're currently reading.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I explore at length on Feast, Sheath, and Shatter. If you want to go and listen to me over there, complain about how it's very rare to find a book where the author treats both sexes with equal attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is an outgrowth of our culture. Like he says, the necessity for subgroups, where we think of people as different subgroups instead of like everyone's just a person. I just happen to have different genitals than you.
Mm-hmm.
And my motivations may be different because I come from... In here, he says that the women make better soldiers because they mature faster, mm-hmm. which is fucking bullshit. It's all about how women are seen as mothers from the moment they come out of the womb.
Right. They're being trained.
Yes. It's not that women mature faster
into mothering behavior.
It's that women are not
earlier than
women
men.
are not allowed in maturity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, fuck off with that narrative. But anyway, you know who does a good job? This is I'm going to end this on a positive note.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Sanderson's earlier books are very similar to this, where the female characters are effectively cardboard cutouts or man extenders.
They're either cardboard cutouts, man extenders because they're just aligning themselves with a man, or they're a man with boobs
glued on,
bolted on. Yeah.
Yeah. And people were like, "Hey, Brandon, this isn't great." And he was like, "Okay, tell me more." And he has done a very good job. Does he still have primarily male characters? Yeah, but he's a dude. So, okay.
Yeah.
If I write a bunch of books, they'll probably all be female characters because I'm a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, but the portrayal of women in his books has gotten so much better and so much more nuanced because he's willing to listen and he doesn't shut down when people criticize. There's a difference between constructive criticism and just criticism.
Right.
And I think what we've offered on this book is a lot of effectively constructive criticism, some just plain criticism, which is fair, but also a little bit of like, I wish it'd been better. Like
right.
I can see where it could have been better. And there's just with a little bit of someone being like a little bit of pushback, it's a better book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. It started with we.
I think we gave a good shot at giving credit for what Frank intended to do.
Where it was clear. Where his intentions were clear. Yeah.
And then the constructive criticism was, if that's what he was trying to do, this is what he could have done differently to make that better. Yeah. To better achieve his intention. But I wonder if his editor kept bugging him about it, so he finished writing it the night before it was due.
It does have the air of like last minute homework.
Yeah. I wonder if he turned in the first person limited Lido journal version of the story, and his editor was like, what the fuck is this?
No, Frank.
Rewrite this.
Frank, no.
Rewrite this to be more like Children of Dune.
This character is unlikable, and he rewrote it, but did not bother trying to make him likable. He was like, fuck you, he is who he is. Well, we're just going to leave it here because there's a lot more to say, but I want to say it in the context of the next book.
Yep.
I want to read the next book. And so we will come out with the next 2 books. We're not going to abandon you. Hopefully they come out in April, barring further world developments, I guess. So, yeah, I think that's probably a good place to leave it.
So sometimes remember the strangest things are the most beautiful too.
All the time, remember the strangest things are the most beautiful too. So be who you are and love what you love. Until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.